Hello there, I'm Bonnie, and today I'm gonna be babbling all about my setup for July. I love this one. I love setting it up. I love looking at it, and yeah, I'm just gonna be babbling in excitement about this. So, welcome. This is my July setup, and for once we're looking at this pre-filled and before the pen, because I decided to just go ahead and record this before I actually use the notebook. So as you can see, I went with a lemons theme, and lemons have been on my theme bucket list for a while. At first I saw a video from Journal Away, and she did a beautiful lemons theme, and then I saw Plant-Based Bride do a lemon theme but with a different style, and I loved both of them, and I was like, okay, I will do a lemons theme at some point. And then earlier this year I saw this picture, and I'll pop it on the screen, but I was like, okay, this has to be either June or July. Like, I need it in my bujo this year ASAP, but it has to be for July, or like a month that starts with a J, because that is the original picture. And my sister was really adamant about having bunnies for June, so I was like, okay, but that's gonna mean that July is gonna be lemons, and she was fine with that, so that is what I did. And this is the first thing I worked on after my yearly theme once I finished university. So let's talk about it. First of all, the colors I used, or how I did this theme, was using gouache, and let's look at the colors. Obviously we have yellow, and I ended up using two different yellows, and to get the shadow for the yellow I ended up mixing them with purple. And I saw a short on YouTube about this. They were using watercolors, but they said, add purple or layer on top of purple to get the shadows, and I was like, let me try that because it looks good, and it worked beautifully. This is how I did the shadows here. It gave the most perfect shadow color. So I really need to learn the color theory and the color wheel. So those were for the lemons. And then for the leaves, I used two greens as well, a grass green and a pale green, and to get them more to the green that I wanted, I added brown, and that got them a little muddy, a little olivey green, and the shade that I wanted more. And then obviously I used white for the tiny flowers. So this is my color palette, and I ended up mixing these with a bit of orange that was already on my palette. I did not want to mix it at first, but then it accidentally got mixed, and the turnout was brilliant. So I was like, okay, let's keep doing that. And then the brushes I used are from A5. These are round brushes, and I think I used like 8 or like 7, 8, 9 and 11, one brush for each color basically. This illustration ended up having a few olives as well, so I did include them here but nowhere else in the setup, because the other inspo images didn't have any olives, and I'm not too upset about that. That's fine with me. Oh, I did use some pink because the flowers had a hint of pink, but yeah, I just used the pink mixed with white to get the palest pink I could possibly get. And honestly, I did not pay too much attention to the flowers. I paid the most attention to the leaves and the lemons. So I first went in with a pale layer of the yellow, and then I tried to add highlights. It didn't really work, so I decided not to, and then mixed the yellow with the purple to do the shadows. And that is basically my lemons. They were the easiest thing to paint. What I love is the leaves also turned out very beautiful. I started with a very light layer that is more water than paint, and it gave me this turnout. And for the olive leaves, that's what I kept it as, but for the other leaves I did two layers to get a more pigmented look, and then went with a lighter color of the green and did all of the details and the stems as well. And for the olives, I ended up just adding more brown to one of the greens, or to the green mixture. So I took a bit of the green mixture to the side, added more brown to it, and it got me a nice olive color. So that is that. And obviously I did the flowers in white, the center in yellow, and a bit of pink around the petals. And then I was going to do the font in white as the inspo picture, but I really didn't want to use white in other spreads, so I decided to, you know, go with black, and I used this brush pen from Boki. I think the brand is pronounced like this, and it was a good call because I like how this looked, and I don't think the theme would have turned out as well using like a white paint pen or something. And I ended up, so this page itself does not have a tab, but I ended up cutting a bit of the edge so that the tabs can show, and that would add some extra sparkle and beauty, obviously. And I used this set of glitter tape that I got as part of like a larger set of 5 color schemes, and I used this bright one. I really thought that I would never use these, but I loved it here, and I love the contrast, and it adds something to the more basic spreads that we're gonna see later on. So let me just maybe like line up my paints here. I'm gonna put the washi tape here, and maybe my brushes here. Flipping over to my monthly calendar, be prepared because I think this is iconic, or at least in my Pujo. Ta-da! I did a full lemon pattern. I loved this. It took a long time, but it turned out so well, and it was relatively easy. So I followed the same steps, right? So the yellow mixed with a bit of the orange that I had in my palette for the base layer, and then mixed with a little bit of purple for the shadows. You can see here that I tried to add highlights, but it did not really work, and I had to fix it in some areas here specifically, but I'm fine with that. I don't really mind, because when you look at it, you don't notice all the little mistakes, and there are many of them. There's a lot of mistakes in this spread. So I did that, and then the leaves followed the same thing, 2 layers, then the light color. And then I also, actually I forgot to mention this, but the darkest color that I used for the olives here, I also used a very watered version on the leaves to go around the lighter lines. It doesn't show much, but it gives a nice effect. And then the flowers, I think they don't really look good in this illustration, or the way I tried to do them, but I'm not gonna do anything about it. I like it. Again, when I'm doing larger illustrations like these, the mini flowers are the last thing that I put too much mind or effort into. And then I did the calendar, and the plan was to do a dashed line because I used that elsewhere, but I forgot, so that's fine. And then the font ended up turning or looking good, except the one letter that doesn't have any paint under it. Ironic, but I used a Times New Roman font, I think, so that it can match the J on the cover page. And this is the first tab. And this tape, I actually did not mention this, but this tape is thinner than the tab, so I ended up layering two on top, but they blend together seamlessly, so I don't think it is noticeable had I not told you. That is it for my monthly calendar, and we're gonna look at my monthly dashboard. This is not completely finished. I want to add a tracker here, I think, and I need to add headers, but I have not decided on what my headers are going to be yet. So let's talk about everything else, and I will get to that later. So I did a mini illustration here following the same exact steps. And I actually did this and the one on the monthly review before the calendar page, I did that last. I did July in a sans serif font, I think, so that it matches, just to add something here. And then I wanted to add a quote here, except I did not space it or sketch it right the first time, so unfortunately I had to cover it with a cut piece of this paper, and it is somewhat obvious, but I don't know how to fix it. And the quote says, when life gives you lemons, make lemon cookies. And the saying goes, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. But we don't drink lemonade, however we do eat a lot of lemon cookies. It is a family favorite, so I thought that was more suitable or fitting. And I ended up using the dashed lines here, where I skip and lift the pen off the paper when I'm outlining. And I used a size 08 for this because I wanted a bold, thick line. And then the header is done with the brush pen. Sizing wise, these boxes are 6 centimeters wide and 12.5 centimeters tall. Flipping over to my first weekly or set of weeklies, I ended up using one style of weeklies for all of the weeks, and I like this. I haven't done it in a while. I think I last did it in October of last year, so I wanted to repeat that. And I really like this layout with the skipped lines. I think it's the prettiest. And I used the brush pen to do the headers, and I have a few errors here and there. I actually need to go back and erase some of the pencil lines, but that is something for future me. For example, here I wrote Thursday instead of Tuesday because I was too in the zone, I think. And then week 3 and 4 we have here relatively no mistakes. And then on the last week I wrote Friday and Saturday instead of weekend because I started writing Friday and I noticed it too late. So yeah, and the sizes for these weeklies are 4.2 times 10 for each section of the day with a joined weekend. And I don't think I'm gonna have too much to write about in here, but that should give me plenty of space. And I ended up doing my lifestyle trackers, I guess, separately rather than put them with the dashboard, because I wanted my monthly review to be on the other side, and you will see why in a second. But I used the same style, obviously. Each section is 6 centimeters by 19.5 centimeters, and I made sure that all the boxes align at the bottom and top here so that it looks somewhat more cohesive and similar, and used the brush pen to write my headers, outfit worn, and books read. And I'm gonna have the numbers down the middle between the two boxes so that I can extend an arrow and write the entries. Lastly, we have my monthly review. I love this so much, so much. So the reason why I wanted to have this page here is because I wanted the washi tape to be visible on this spread. And when I do Dutch doors in this manner, I like to make it so that my monthly review has the tabs visible. I did a very similar layout in May actually, and I didn't really love that theme. So this is somewhat of my redemption, especially since I ended up mixing a beautiful green where I was unable to do that in May. And there were just fewer mishaps with this theme overall. But yeah, I wanted the tabs to be visible, so I separated my sections somewhat and arranged stuff so that I would have my vision come to life. And I wasn't actually going to add any illustrations, but I saw this one and I loved the idea. I think I saw it on an invitation card, so I decided to do that. And I did this again before the monthly calendar, following the same exact steps, and it turned out really, really good. So I ended up using or writing July review in the same font that I've been using, and so that it matches the cover page. But then for the actual sections, I decided to just use my calligraphy to match the sections for the days of the week and all the other headers. So we have highlights, challenges accomplished, to get to, book stats, finances, and favorite outfit. And I think that would be good enough for this review. And I really liked how it looked. And I wasn't going to add a border, but I ended up adding one because I thought it was gonna look better. Again, doing the skipping so that there's little breaks in the outline. But that is it for my July setup. I absolutely adore this setup. Also, one thing before we have a final flip through, I'm really glad that I ended up cutting the edge here, because had I not, this painting is gonna extend 1 centimeter extra, and it's gonna be visible when I flip to other pages. So it would be, say, visible right here. And I don't really like the look of that, or when that happens. So I'm really glad that I took that step and made it so the tabs are visible always. But yeah, let's take one final look at the entire month. This is so summery and bright. I love it. Yellow is not my thing, but I love it here. And I can't wait to use this. If you enjoyed this video and you like the theme, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment telling me whatever you want. Leave a lemon emoji if you have reached the end, and tell me what is your July theme. I'm seeing a lot of beautiful creations on YouTube and Instagram, and I can't wait to see what everyone does. And yeah, I've already worked on August, and that is such a beautiful theme. Stunning. I'm gonna have a video out for it soon, and I will probably set it up on camera to do something different. So subscribe so that you can tune in for that video, and I'll see you then. Bye bye.